And we are live. I just want to make sure. Do I have feedback? I don't know what's coming from me or you.
Might be me. I just opened up live on my. I just opened up Facebook. It's on Facebook.
Can you press off feedback? Why is there that feedback?
It says to be our live based on the screen, right?
Yeah, we are.
Are live. Welcome. If you're watching, please let us know in the comments that who you are, where you're watching from. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to get started very soon. Just give them one more minute for people to get on. We will start at 10.
Hey, cousin Janet.
Cousin Janet. Okay, do you want it's 6:10? You want to open us up? Let's get started.
Yeah, man. So welcome, guys. Welcome back to another edition of the Gibson Brothers Real Talk or Real Life with the Gibson Brothers. Two brothers saying different perspectives, where we give you the raw nitty gritty from our view, as well as our special guest today. But as we normally start off with shout outs, let's shout out my co host, my little brother, Danny G. He celebrated his 24th birthday last week. Monday just gone. Monday or
Tuesday.
Tuesday, sorry. Yeah, the 4th, May 4th. Sorry. The 4th. We were due to do the show last week, but Daniel wasn't feeling well. So glad that he's back up and running 100%. Other birthday shout outs. I don't want to sound mean, but there ain't really none of note to me. But today is Mother's Day. Today is Mother's Day, and we are blessed to have our mother with us and our grandmothers, both of our grandmothers, 91 and 87. So that's definitely a blessing. We want to recognize them and all mothers out there. We know that mothers are 90%, 99% of the time the bedrock of every family, the bedrock of every individual, and whatnot. And in that vein, our show today is about mama's boy syndrome, where our father said that was a fitting topic because we both suffer from it. I beg to differ, but we have a good friend of Daniel's and the sister of some of my friends, um, Elisa Swan, with us, and I'll let Daniel do a proper introduction of Miss Swan.
Yes. Thank you. And happy Mother's Day again to every other mothers, to our mother, to our grandmothers. Um, and all the mothers who are watching, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being who you are. And we love you from the Gibson brothers and the Gibson family as a whole. So Gelisa is one of my very, very dear friends, all the way from Alpha Prep days back in the day. Gates also a 2015 graduate of Lee Queens College, where she and I went to school together and kind of rebuilt or rekindled our friendship. She is also a 20, let me see if I'm 2019 graduate of Lee University, where she received a bachelor's of psychology, and a 2021 graduate, actually a May 8th, 2021 graduate of Lee University as well, where she received a master's of arts in master science, sorry, in marriage and family therapy. She is beginning her doctoral studies, I believe, in the fall. At Lee again, if I'm correct. Yes, yes, yes. Gelisa has been trained with a systems approach and is very relationship oriented. And so I'm very happy that my very dear friend is walking this journey in her life. And she's definitely not only been a spiritual, a religious blessing to me, but now she was able to be a scientific and industry blessing to me. As becoming an adult and just living in this world we do. So Kaylee, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we are going to get. Let's see something you want to say. We can get right into it.
Yes, I want to thank the both of you for having me today. Just thinking of me, giving me this opportunity to just kind of share some perspective, on all of this. And I chuckled to myself. You say, "Your daddy feel like this a fitting topic for the both of you." So I wonder how the both of you would agree with how much is about to be said. But I'm excited. Let's have this conversation.
I personally don't think I'm a mama's boy in the way that I've been researching. But I definitely do love my mother, for sure. So with that being said, the first question I have for you, Gailey. So what are some like the psychological signs of what would be classified as a mama's boy? I know we think, a boy who just, is overly protective of his mother, does everything for, puts her first in his life, does anything move mountains for her, you can't touch his mother, but what are like, actual signs of being a mama's boy?
Yeah, so as I share about this, I want to talk about it from different facets. So one of the facets that you just shared was like the way how a mama's boy normally responds to his mom. But let's think about it too, how a mama's boy even responds in his relationships with other people or how he even thinks about himself. And some of the signs that you may see psychologically is like there's this like intense attachment where it's like nobody else can fit this space except for my mom. Nobody else could do this except for my mom. And so there's this very, very tight bonded attachment that exists that we commonly see within mama's boys. There's also this aspect of maybe some lack of independence because mom does everything for me. And so mom cooks for me, mom cleans for me, mom pays my bills, mom does everything. And so there's this lack of independence and this lack of like detaching oneself away from mom because mom is going to take care of me and mom is always taking care of me, even into adulthood. There's this lack of independence or initiative that is taken. And that's some of the effects we might see too. Psychologically, we might also see this lack of ability of being able to make some choices that are for the actual individual, like for the son. The son makes a decision that is actually what they want for themselves. They may always try to like make these decisions. Oh, this is what my mom wants for me to do. My mom wants me to be with in this kind of relationship. My mom wants me to have this kind of job. That's some of the effects that we may kind of see within a mama's boy.
Okay, cool. Do you want to jump into anything? Or what Katie
Yeah,
just said?
I like what she said about your relationships with other people. We may have mentioned this before on a previous show, but one thing I always tell people is that when looking for a partner or whatever, I always tell people, look at how that individual, for me, a girl, look at her relationship with her father. And for women, look at the relationship a guy has with his mom. And that'll really dictate a lot of how they'll treat you because the way they revere their mother. Now, mama's boy is completely different in the sense that, as Elisa said, that dependency, that, join at the hip kind of thing. So I totally get that. And if that's what it is, that you wrong. Because me and I really ain't joining at the hip. We ain't joining at mommy's hip. I should join the mommy at the hip, We kind of stand on our own. We make decisions based on our own judgment for the betterment of ourselves. And I think that's one thing our parents, especially our mothers, always pushed. Think about it, be wise enough. I trained you well enough that you could make a sound decision. Of course, you'll factor in their opinion, and you don't want to completely disregard your parents or your mother or whatever. But you still want to make them proud at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. So the next question talks about how do you navigate being a mama's boy as an adult? I mean, as a child, I think it's being a mama as a child is one thing, but as you begin to adult, okay, especially you said like paying my bills and having those social emotional connections and relationships tend to change as you're an adult. So how can I still be a mama's boy and be a grown man and like call myself a grown man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of build off of the first question, right? In terms of how we identify these men. And one of the major things is how you navigate it in adulthood is that you got to set some boundaries. Boundaries will become your best friend as you are an adult, because your mom really and truly should not be in every part of your life. As you learn to, and I think this is one of the reasons why the Bible says when you get married, you leave and you cleave, is because there's an aspect of boundaries, you coming into your own, you making decisions on your own, and you taking the initiative to now create a life that you want for yourself without really the say of anybody else. Maybe their influence matters. And so that's what the boundary might look like. One is like, maybe your mom's influence still matters, but it doesn't dictate. Or if mom says no, you still have the ability to choose and to maybe disagree with mom and still choose what it is that you want. The boundaries might look like if you're in a relationship with somebody else. Now this is to be debated, and different people look at this different. Some people be like, do I give priority to my baby mama? Do I give priority to my girlfriend or wife? How does the priority orient itself? However you choose to decide that for yourself. But for the point of the matter is that when you get yourself in a serious relationship, mom can't have to say all the time in terms of what happens in that relationship. So now boundaries in that regard needs to be established. Boundaries for things like your career needs to be established. When we can't be calling you all the time on the job, telling you to come and do A, B, C, and D because you got money to make. So it's just things like that where boundaries has to be a major thing in terms of navigating through being a mama's boy and coming into adulthood. So you can be a mama's boy, but you have to do it with boundaries. It can't be like how it used to be when you were a 5-year-old child.
Definitely. So we have the questions, so we just keep rolling into them. So you talk about on the job, talk about relationships. Are there any particular like social skills that you may have researched or know, like that have really stand that affect mama's boys? Like, is there something in particular that there's a common theme or common trend amongst a mama's boy?
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk about it from an example standpoint, right? So every time I think about a mama's boy, I immediately think about Terrence J. Not Howard. Oh Lord, I think his name is just Terrence J. And that movie with, I think it was Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man. I forget exactly which movie it was, man. But it was like a few friends, and he was like the mama's boy in the film. And one of the major themes that you saw with him was like, no matter what it was, he dropped everything and he responded immediately to whatever it is that mom wanted. And now, granted, your mommy give a lot to you. she sacrificed a lot for you. But at the same time, like I was mentioning before, in terms of boundaries, in terms of independence and all of those things, there comes a point in time now where you have to recognize that I have to now figure out who I am without my mom. And I think that's a common theme is like a lot of some mama's boys don't know how to come into themselves without their mom. They don't know what it is to actually be paying bills and being dependent because mom always did these things, that kind of nature. So I think that's a navigating theme. It's like they don't know who they are without mom.
And so would you say, Deanna, you might want to jump in here at some point. Do you blame the mother for that?
This is a good question because I think it goes back and forth between the child and mom, but I definitely think that, and this isn't based on research or anything, this is just my personal opinion. I think that moms definitely lay the framework for this. They lay the foundation. Whether they do it intentionally or not, it's something that is initiated by the caregiver because your child is going to respond based on how you respond to them. And if you don't learn to wean your child and teach them patience, teach them independence, then they will latch onto you and they will only know that life is safe whenever mom is around. They won't know how to feel like life is actually safe when mommy isn't around. So I've seen some parents and it makes me laugh every time because when it comes to their relationships, mom will have this opinion, well, girlfriend needs to cook, she needs to do these certain things in order to take care of her, in order to take care of the son. And so son never learns how to do these things for his own. So like I've seen mothers like move on from their from their son being a child into adolescence, into adulthood, and then also expecting for their girlfriend's wife person to do the same thing that they was doing. And there's no level of autonomy that's given back to him to be like, there's some responsibility you need to take now for your life. And it's not as, and this is another thing I want to emphasize too. The signs of these things are not always as obvious. When you live in certain patterns for so long, like you don't even recognize, like, fam, I'm making these decisions all on my own. I'm not even thinking about what mom is saying. Or you recognize that, oh wow, I'm thinking about my mom all the time and I'm not making decisions on my own. So it's things like that where I think moms influence it a lot, but because of the comfortability that comes out of this, it just causes, it leads to as many sons latching on and never wanting to let go.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with Galisha on that one in the sense that, I think about my own life. Yeah, and people tell me, say, but I never see a fellow who's so in love with his mommy. I post my mommy on Facebook maybe once a month, Facebook and Instagram once a month. Yeah, I have a very close relationship and I really appreciate my mom. But, I remember growing up, obviously I'm a little older than Daniel, and I try to push him and Daria in this direction as well. They'd be like, hey, you could call this person for me. No, you have to build your own relationship. And that's something that my mom taught me from young. Like, no, but I'm not filling out this application for you. I'm not doing this for you. You have to do it on your own. Yeah, that may be my friend. I already told them to expect a call from you. So you go ahead and call Mr. or Miss So and so. And you learn. And then, like, in that way, I think, the opposite of being a mama's boy kind of happened. Yeah, okay, if you want to talk about daddy's boys or mommy's boys, children will always have a greater affinity to one parent over the other. Um, and I think with us, Diane and I are closer. I wouldn't say closer, but we are more tightly connected to our mom, although we have a great relationship with our dad. And Daria, our little sister, is like super, super daddy's girl. The two of them inseparable. They cry every time they got to leave each other, you know. Um, but at the same time, that doesn't make you a mama's boy in the sense like the mama's boy syndrome, like we're talking about. And you brought up that movie, and like you said, I always think of nature versus nurture. Um, nature will tell you based on your species. And I did animal science and whatnot. Most animals will deject their children, their young, when they get a certain age. Humans, we keep our young around for a very long time compared to any other species of animal. But how you raise that offspring during that nurturing period, the law says 18, up to 18. At 16, a child can leave if they want, but up to 18, a parent is obligated to take care of their child. And as you stated, that relationship that is groomed and honed at that point in time will definitely influence what happens when the eagle leaves the nest. So the fledgling takes flight. If that fledgling keeps returning back, and the mother is still feeding them, they're never gonna be able to take care of themselves. And I think there are a lot of mothers who say, like you said, they'd be like, no, my son needs this, my son needs that. If you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it for him. Someone has to do it for him. No, but my mommy teaches us how to cook. She teaches us how to. I was sewing my own pajamas from young. Some people may say she is making me into a little girly boy, which like far from that. But I have a skill set that a lot of girls who I come into contact with don't have. Some girls don't cook. Some girls say they don't clean. I live by myself. I've been living alone for the past 6 years now, and nobody does it for me. I don't even hire people to do those things for me. You know.
Good points, Dion. Good points. So I want to, this real conversations. I want to get some real questions Some really, tough things to discuss. So, Kaylee, is there hope for a mama's boy to be able to put their social, emotional relationships first? Is there, if is there hope for the men out there who really have it bad, like who really have the like mama's boy syndrome, to become great partners, great fathers, great friends, just lived an independent life and really kind of like just set free from their mother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good question too. I think it's possible, but I think it takes a lot of initiative and it takes a lot of being real and honest with yourself. Because like I was making mention before, like these kind of patterns of like of mom taking care of you and being responsible for so many parts of your life, some people just look and be like, oh, my mom is just so caring, my mom is so notable, and they affirm all of these things instead of recognizing the level of dependence that also exists, even though mom does all of these good things for you. Now mom can do these good things for you, but it's a whole different story when you are dependent on her to do it and you are not even willing to do it for yourself or even able to do it for yourself. And so you got to be honest and being recognizing like, this is not healthy for me. This is not okay. And this is one of the things I think I should have mentioned earlier is like, there are many different reasons why mama's boys exist and why moms are so like latched on into saying like they will not release their sons. But we also have to recognize for some parents, a lot of people go through very traumatic experiences having their children. And when they actually have their child, it's like, I don't ever want to let you go. Because of, different things like miscarriage, things like just having difficulty with infertility, with fertility and having infertility issues, with there being maybe some kind of accident or something that happened during the child's life. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't ever lose this. Whatever it might be, there's a level of attachment that exists to the child, to their mother. And there also is a level of attachment that exists to the mother, to the child. And they don't want to let them go. So one, I think, is that honesty component. The next thing too is like, you also have to recognize that you actually want something different for your future. Now, if you're in a relationship with somebody else and you don't even see it as a problem or how it's negatively affecting your relationship with whoever it is that you're dating, it's going to be that much more challenging for you to even move on and to actually repair some of the issues that's in your relationship because you don't want to recognize that it's a problem that I have with my mom. And so I have never actually had a client with this issue, but we've read case studies on it. And what I would see is like whoever the partner is has this element of frustration that just exists because they can't seem to value me, is what the partner is saying. They always go to their mom for everything. They don't come to me for nothing. They don't talk to me about stuff. They always call them mommy. Every time a problem or something happened, they call mommy. And so it starts to devalue the partner that is waiting, that is in relationship with them. And so you have to acknowledge, that's the second thing, is like acknowledge that it's actually negatively affecting your relationship and then want to actually fight for it if it's going to change. So I think it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of initiative to make that change happen.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. If you're in the audience, please submit your comments, submit any questions you may have. Again, we have Lisa Swan here, my very, very good friend, marriage and family therapist intern is her correct title. Future doctoral student at Lee University. And a graduate of Queens College because we just produce greatness. And so on to the next question as our audience is kind of submitting some questions. When does the mom boy detach himself? So now I've walked down the journey, I've read, seen the signs, identified that, I really have a problem. Like this is me. I had a conversation with myself. I've had a conversation with my husband, my wife, my whoever, my partner, whoever. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better friend. Now it's time to deal with it head on. Talk to mama. Like, when do I realize that? Okay, mommy, you and I need some level of some degree separation. Like, how does that conversation even begin to even happen? Or how could it happen without causing rift?
Yeah. I don't think it's possible to do it without causing rift, to be honest. And the thing is, too, it really depends on why that attachment and that bond exists in the first place. So, like, why this whole mama's boy thing even started in the first place. And then, two, there has to be a level of willingness from both the son and mom, and recognizing like this is not okay. Now, granted, son could just go ahead and set some kind of boundaries with mommy and be like, okay, mommy, I at work. I can't do A, B, and C all the time. I can't just drop everything for you. Maybe if you communicate this with me at a certain time, then I could do this for you. Like it starts with those boundaries I was talking about before. If you don't feel like you could sit down and just have a conversation with mom. Or it might look like setting a boundary and being like, okay, I'm gonna do this for myself, even though I know mommy could do it for me. I'm gonna do this for myself. And or maybe if you're in a relationship with somebody, saying to your partner, like, okay, I am going to value you and put you first. I'm going to come to you and be more intentional about talking to you. That's how that detachment kind of thing starts to happen. But if you choose and it's actually you actually feel like it could be a productive conversation with talking to your mom about it, I suggest going full-fledged and doing it. Just head right and just going head on and just sharing with her like, mommy, I don't feel like this relationship is helping me in the best way that I can. And I see how it's hindering me more than it's being helpful. And I need to gain some more independence. So even like going to her and outlining ways that you need to become more dependent from her, you need to become more independent from her, would actually help that conversation to like start up and to be more productive. Maybe stop going by mommy every Sunday for dinner after church and go and cook something yourself. Things like that, would help to detach and set the new rhythm.
Yeah, I like that. I think, Diane, the main place it starts is realizing you have a problem, like we said earlier, acknowledgement, right? Because you may have someone on the job, and some people get complacent and they feel like, I'm good. I reached my glass ceiling. I'm not going any higher. Other people are seeing potential and saying, hey, you really could go a lot further, but it's like that crutch may be your mama's boy syndrome or whatever. And it's like, oh, mommy got me covered. But it's the only way it's going to happen. Like you said, it's going to be a rift. It's going to cause issues, but it's only for the better of both persons, because, imagine now it's going to happen. Everyone has to die. Your mom passes. Life does not end, And I think that I'm a person, I like to go at things real extreme, like I can't sit here and be like, wow, when we gone, I can't do nothing no more. But about you still gotta eat. You still got your clothes still gotta get washed. If not, you run the risk of being someone walking down Bay Street going Lambo. And I don't think no one chooses or wants to do that. So therefore you have to realize, like, in order to improve and make sure I'm secure and solid for the future, why am I like, okay, I gotta detach, you need to get out of my relationships, whatever, because unless it's I hate to be rude, I'm not the psychologist here, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but unless it's a weak woman who probably likes that mommy takes care of the two of them, you you're not really gonna get a sensible person who is gonna accept or deal with that and really be able to grow and build a life. And I like you said, the word you use that I love is intentional. I believe in being intentional and deliberate about everything that we do. And in doing so, you have to make some hard decisions sometimes. I'm a person who has a difficulty saying no at times. And at times I have to tell myself no, not even tell other people no. Sometimes I tell myself, no, you can't do that today. Mommy may call, and I think it starts there. You have to look within, because you got to fight your demons within before you could deal with the ones on the outside. The enemy within is greater than the enemy without. So I think that's where it starts. It starts with you acknowledging, hey, this is not good. This is not healthy. I need to improve and my life needs to get better. And seeing that problem and seeing where it may hold you back. Because I'm sure there's something in each and every one of us. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Elon Musk wants more. I'm sure Bill Gates wants better for his life. Probably not the best name to use at this time, but anyhow, but everyone wants to improve their life in one way or the other. And so you have to realize what is holding that back. That tight, close bond, that join at the hip with mommy could be holding a lot of people back. I think it's levels to it too, you know. It may not be that mommy cook for me every Sunday, but it may be that, like you say, I call mommy whenever me and the wife or me and the girlfriend are out. And of course, she could be mad. That can hinder your relationship, and that's going to hinder your overall life because, you know, if your significant other ain't happy, you ain't going to never be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to always create misery and strife for everybody. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you remind me of one of the points I wanted to highlight too is like even in terms of being one of the signs of being a mama's boy is like every time you are upset emotionally, mom has to be the one to regulate you. Mom got to be the one to calm you down. Only mommy could calm you down. Now that's a problem. And I believe that it's not healthy relationally in any relationship you have where it's only one person who could do this one thing for you. It should be a community of people you have around you that you allow to have some kind of access. It can't just be one person. Because like you say, this is life we live. No life is promised to anybody. And if you have that level of dependence on somebody, then how are you going to be able to move on in life in a healthy and a productive way if you don't allow for other people to have that kind of space and have that kind of access to you? Now, I'm not saying, let me clarify this. I'm not saying to give everybody access to you. Everybody should not have that. But if you choose to be in a committed relationship with someone, or you are in some kind of you're in some kind of progressive relationship, you cannot just be reliant on one person. So I think that I just wanted to highlight that point too. As you were talking, it just made me remember that as well. But yeah, I totally agree.
My points were sorry, Diane. My points were my word for life. Ubuntu. That's right. Ubuntu. I am because we are. We all have to work together. It ain't no me and you can't make the world flow. Each one of us have a role to play. You know. Diane, I really like the question in the comments.
Let's see.
Oh, again, I don't know if you can see the comments. I don't know how to comments, but Reverend Joanne Montague from the Empowerment Temple AME Church.
I see the questions now.
I have to because she was one of the pivotal people helping put these questions together today. So I have to shout out my very, 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 very good colleague, Reverend Joanne Montague from the Empowerment Temple AME Church, where Pastor G.J. Barnes serves as Pastor First Lady J.J. Barnes serves as our First Lady. The question in the comment is, what about mothers who have made their sons feel the void of no man in their lives?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to bring up in our next question, Gailey. So, you know, my mother isn't a single mother, but my mother's a single mother. Just to say, you know, I'm her husband, and now, you know, some fancy therapist telling me I can't be a husband no more. I gotta go be my own man. Who am I to tell my mother that you can't call me when the roach crawling through your bedroom in the middle of the night no more? And I gotta drive 2 hours to kill it. So
Yeah.
how do you know, how does that dynamic work?
We need to go date.
Yeah, y'all going. Let's go. So remember before I made mention of we have to also pay attention to why this attachment even exists in the first place. And and we also have to pay attention to like there are many just having a child and also being a mother to a child has a lot of emotional ties to it that if you are not as a mother able to regulate through those things as yourself, it can cause a lot of trauma bonding. And it can cause a lot of displaced relational needs on your child. Oh goodness, I'm like flooded now with a lot of thoughts. It can cause a lot of misplacing of needs onto the child now, where the child ends up playing the role of basically your partner of everything. They taking care of you, they cleaning for you, they are a part of everything that you do, and that is a very, very tricky place to be because one of the things that I'm thinking about right now is that imagine this happening as a young child, a young boy, you growing up. You don't even know how to even be a child. You didn't get much time to really be a child because you had to fill in a void for a lot of places that your mom didn't have another man to fill in or a man period because you're a child or didn't have a man period to fill in. What you would see maybe coming out of that is just a lot of anxiety in relationships with people and a lot of lacking of development. Maybe even some resentment that even develops as time goes on because it's like I wasn't able to be a child. I wasn't able to have my own independence because now I had to give up so much of that to be here for you. And no, that might not be directly communicated. Some people might be very feisty and actually say it out loud, but it might be communicated through their actions, where this level of resentment might exist as well. For some of them. Now, it's tricky to really communicate with the both of you or even the audience, like about how to release that kind of bond that exists. But let's say hypothetically this was to happen because like the father passed away, and he was no longer in the family's life anymore, and so now son steps up, or son is pulled up, forced up into being in this role. I think what it might look like as son gets older and he gains some more independence from himself is learning in some capacity that was mentioned before. It's like learning to say no and learning not to feel the pressure of having to respond to everything that your mom needs. She has an ability to take care of herself, and she has to essentially learn to do that for herself. And what that might look like is in very small segments, just gently saying no to certain things, and also articulating to mom, it's like, Mom, I don't want you to be completely reliant on me. I want to be here. And but at the same time, as you say, I don't want you to be reliant, also communicating, Mom, I love you and I care for you, but I can't be your everything. So that is setting a boundary, that is setting the tone for the relationship, that is communicating well. And it's also communicating that I am not willing to do this, but I still care for you. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question fully, but I wanted to I think that's where my points lie for right now.
No, she said that's good. So I think you definitely answered the question. And then she also dropped another question. Does separation anxiety play a part if the son is an only child?
Oh, man.
let me jump in right quick before you go, Gaby, because I was thinking about this when you kind of mentioned it earlier, thinking about, mothers who kind of, the mother making that child a mama's boy for life. I think, definitely the void of a man in her life, or failed relationships may be a part of that. But then you may also have situations where, sometimes, and you always hear parents say they want better for their children than they had. But not every parent knows how to make better happen. To them, that better may be me and my mommy and my daddy and had no relationship. So you know what? I can hold you as close and tight because I don't want it to be like, oh, we don't talk at all now, whatever. You have some people out there who will tell you straight up, but if my parents die, I wouldn't feel no way. I'll go to the funeral and don't really care, And I think that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's something to consider. Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't have nothing else to say with that. Yeah.
I want to talk back. Yeah, about the question. Does separation anxiety play a part if the son is an only child?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say, and granted, I want to highlight the fact that some of the things that I may be saying, it doesn't apply to everybody. Every situation, every person looks different. So I'm not trying to say this is like the poster child version of how they're supposed to look. So with regard to separation anxiety, I think for many people, it does play a role. And if you add on the fact that it's the only child, because some people just have one child by choice. And then some people have one child because they couldn't have any more children. And so you have to also take into consideration, why is it that this is the only child, and consider what the other layers might look like for why a parent might be anxious in parenting that child. And so like I mentioned before, in terms of like those infertility issues, having miscarriage, things of that nature, I think might intensify some of that separation anxiety if the son is the only child. But then there are just some parents who only have one child and they are so overprotective. They are so latched on to their son. And I think it happens a lot because really and truly, they only have one child to put all their energy on. And if they are so consumed in the details of everything that is going on in the son's life and not giving him any independence, I think if he tries to detach himself away, you will see that separation anxiety increasing like ridiculously, because it's like, now I'm starting to lose control that I once had. I'm starting to lose influence that I once had, and I don't like this. So I may start to feel some separation anxiety as a result of it.
That's so good. That's so good. Again, if you want to do any questions, please put them in the chat. Such a great conversation we're having today about being a mama's boy syndrome. First, I don't know. This topic really just came to me very randomly. As I was creating the flyer for this week, and I was like, "Is this even a thing? Like, is mouth boy syndrome like is it right to call it a syndrome? I mean, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but like when you put syndrome on the end of something, you're now like kind of diagnosing it as, I would say, a disease, but like a thing. Definitely a real thing. So I think, Gailey, as we kind of get ready to wrap up, just have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of walking this road about this mama's boy. But when does the mother let go? We talk about when does the son let go, but when does the mother let go? And does the mother say, son, it's time for you to start detaching, or does the son say, Mom, I want to start adulting by myself?
Yeah.
Or I want you to play a little less of a direct role in my everyday life making decisions. Yeah, so let's talk about when it's time for the mother to like let go. Like let's
Yeah, I think really and truly, it's almost like a chicken and egg kind of situation once the son like becomes an adult, in terms of like who detaches first. I do think it's helpful though when the mother, because I think the mother normally would play, because the mother's the caregiver, is just simply older and more mature. More of the instances of this mama's boy syndrome thing kind of developing would happen because she, in a lot of ways, just kind of allowed it to happen, and didn't stop or set any boundaries or allow him to create some more decisions on his own. And so I think that mom, I think that mom would begin to feel this increased need for son to detach when she realizes that son is not able to move progressively through life without her. And it's so evident, it's so clear as day that he can't go to a doctor's appointment. He can't even make an appointment without me, or he can't book a flight without me. He can't go to a job interview without me. He can't regulate his own emotions without me. But once again, it goes back to the same thing I was saying about son, is that it takes a level of honesty in recognizing that my son is not fulfilling his full potential, and that there's so much more that I should have allowed for him to be able to do on his own that I did not allow for him to do. And so now he is dependent on me for a lot of things. I think it also takes a level of recognizing, like, I'm enabling the situation. I am allowing for him to always use me essentially as his comfort place, as his complacent place. And I'm not challenging him at all. I think that's something that's important that for mothers to acknowledge. And to also, I've seen this like in just different social situations where there's this element of like guilt that exists for some moms as well, because maybe father isn't around. And so, or father was never playing a role within the family. And so it's like, I need to give him everything. I need to call him for everything because I feel guilty that he wasn't able to get that from his father. And so sometimes it may even take being honest with yourself and releasing yourself from that guilt. Like, you can't keep holding on to that forever. And so I think there are many different layers. There's more to be said in terms of answering your question, but I think it would be better answered based on the specific situations. But in a general way, I think this is how I would respond to right now.
I think in most cases the mother is the culprit. We spoke about it in the beginning, where we spoke about the way you groom and raise this child to be dependent, to be your husband or your boyfriend. I saw a crazy case, and I don't know if you all saw it, but in the States, a mother and son actually got married. We're trying or fighting a legal battle to legally get married. And I mean, so Daniel, when you say if it's a real syndrome, if it's a real disease or whatever, yeah, this is real. There's some people out there, I don't call them crazy because I can't diagnose one, but we got to have some screws loose to want to marry your mom. And I mean, that went from a mama's boy syndrome to an actual romantic relationship between mother and son. It was not just that emotional attachment. And I think at that point, it's a level of sickness. That's your area of specialty, Kelisha. But, I think that the mother, more often than not, is the culprit. And I think, as you said, any mother who wants the best for their child would push them out of the nest. I can use the bird example because eagles build their nest extremely high in mountains or extremely high in trees. And when they're young at a certain age, they get pushed out. And buddy, you better glide or fly or you can die. And I mean, thankfully, none of our parents, none of the three of us here, or anyone we know of, have really had that experience. But sometimes, I went to school in Cuba, and you look at a country like Cuba that struggled. They use the term necessity is the mother of all invention. When you are put into difficult situations, you learn to survive, you learn to thrive. So the only way the mother and the son can heal is by sometimes your son need to pick up. If you live in the Bahamas, you need to go move to Australia away from your mother. So mommy can't call no one in Australia to help you. Like you gotta do these drastic changes, like I say, but it's a scary thing to actually think about it. I never went this deep in this conversation on this topic. So it's a really interesting topic to explore. And I'm sure a lot of our viewing audience, those who will view it later, are probably going to have similar views. Like, sit down and think, wow. Like, I'm sitting there trying to think of anyone who I know who actually really suffers from these things. And I think I could safely say I don't really know anyone. And I guess that's kind of good. But, now when people call me a mama's boy, I'm going to be like, nope, furthest thing.
You wouldn't know mix up.
Nope.
That's another question, Reverend Joe. Reverend Joe, you should be answering this question. So Reverend Joe asks, is it healthy for a son to run to his mother once he's married every time something goes wrong? So Reverend Joanne's a marriage counselor, so I don't know why she's asking this question.
She asked it for the people. She wanted the people to know.
I want her to put the answers in the comments. But Gailey, is it healthy or is it toxic? Does it create a toxic marriage?
Yeah.
If I'm going to my mother every time I'm in an argument with my spouse, I'm going to my mother, and getting her viewpoint, and then taking her viewpoint as gold, going back to my marital home. I was like, look, this is what my mother said. This was how it's supposed to go down. Therefore, what you say really is null and void.
Ooh. All right.
So is that healthy, or is that really, really, toxic?
Yeah. Now to the statement that you made, for example, right? You was like, this is how my mom does it, so this is how it's supposed to be done. No. that can't be a productive part of conversation. Now, here's the thing though. I want to highlight that comparison in relationship like that can be a very messy situation, and that's why it should just be avoided. Now, if you want for something to be done a particular way, it can be suggested and saying like, hey, maybe we can do it this way, or let's look at it and doing it this way. But if we're going to compare it now, mean like, well, you're not doing it right because this is not how my mom says it. You're creating this open window now for this element of comparison and this element of like, okay, now I need to meet a certain expectation of your mom, or I need to meet a certain expectation of whoever it is. And I can't be authentically myself. That is problematic in any relationship. You don't even want to open up that window. And so that's one thing. The second thing is that in terms of like running to mom for everything, I want to highlight this. So I mentioned this earlier, but I want to highlight it even in this question. It's that it's not wrong to confide into your mother, or not to confide in conversation with your mom about things, but it's important that it's not a repetitive everything. She is the only person that I'm going to, and this is the only resource that I have. Now, and then on the second thing with that is that if every time mommy is the only influenceable person, like you're only influenced by mom, that is also problematic because you can talk to other people, but at the end of the day, you're wasting everybody's breath. If at the end of the day, you can always choose what mommy says. Sometimes mom knows well, and most of the time she does. I ain't even gonna lie. But at the same time, it is important to recognize like I can't run to mommy every time there's a problem and I'm married. And let me tell you why too. So there's these terms that we use called triangulation. And what that means is that you have two individuals within a family, within a system, and they become in a coalition. Like it's the two of them, they tag team in. All of the stress of the relationship is communicated between these two people. And then you have the other person, probably the partner or the spouse that exists, who is not a part of those conversations. So this triangle would exist with mom, you, and then your partner. that is a very messy kind of relationship to get yourself involved in. And all of us do this in some capacity. Whenever we frustrated with something, we have this anxiety, this point that everything comes to, where this anxiety holder releases all of the information, or it's like, it's the only way to cope is to come to this center point. And so I think it's important as well to recognize, like, mom can't be the release of tension all the time. And you know, in the same way, like even in church, we talk about in this triangle, there being God at top, being husband, being wife, or you know, however it works. This is how God has to be at the center point. It can't be mom and then you and your partner. It will not work. It's not progressive. So I think it's important to highlight that as well. But I would say no, it's not. It's not okay for every day.
So I don't have anything else. I mean,
I'm
so fulfilled.
That.
I just actually want to shout out some people in the chat, and some business owners, some great business owners. So Kyle, our cousin Kyle, shout out to Kyle, who was the winner of Tota's. Dion, please correct me if I'm saying wrong. Tota's Diner
on Mackey Street, where the old GRK. That's now Tota's, as well as Craven, the bestest food delivery in the world. I think they better than Uber Eats right now.
Please support you if you're in Nassau, support Tota's and Craven.
Yep.
And one of my other former colleagues, Tori Brown, is opening up a selfie studio, guys. A selfie studio in Towson. So go on Instagram right now and follow The Spotlight. It's THESPTLYT, The Spotlight. It's gonna be like, we changing the game around here. Tori is a media beast, and so this is just like a whole new. Let's just level up the game. So shout out to all you great business owners in the chat. We are so proud of you. We love you guys, and thank you for supporting us as we support you.
Hey, Daniel.
Go, what's up?
I miss 2 birthday shout outs, and I know if our cousin see this, they'll allow us. So I got a shout out Dimitri, who celebrated the day after Daniel, May 5th, and cousin Evan, all the way out in China. Evan Gordon celebrated on May 1st, and today is our other cousin, extended cousin. Those are our 2 first cousins, one on mommy's side, one on daddy's side, and then Donovan Wisdom celebrating today, May 9th, sorry. So big shout outs to them. Yeah, if we missed you, we're sorry, but happy birthday to everyone in the past week. Don't worry, I prayed for you.
And I see Daddy's on, something Mommy's on as well. So happy Mother's Day, Mommy. Oh, I hate
Mama is watching right now. Keisha messaged me. I saw and Donna on, and they're supposedly all by Mama watching right now. So shout out to the William Skyline Heights.
Yes, and happy Mother's Day to the Duchess and Donna and Des and whoever else is there, Keisha. Yep. Well, our aunt cousin, our aunt Keisha as well. And Godly Kathy's on. Yep. Happy Mother's Day to my godmother. Yep. And Daddy, we are not Mama's boys, so you missed the conversation. You weren't paying
attention to the show, Daddy, because we dispelled that we are not Mama's boys.
We use the word. I think Elise is clinically diagnosed as a Mama's boy, so we can't be using those words loosely.
If anything, is Mama's boy tonight.
Exactly.
He for me every day, twice a day.
So I thought, it's 7:00, and we promised to keep things, to almost an hour. So, Gay Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Man, thanks a lot. We really
you definitely provided so much more of a different perspective, that I can even think of it. We have to bring you back. I'm gonna bring you back with Reverend Joanne and talk about marriage one of these days.
Ooh, let's do it.
So I know. So we will definitely touch. Thank you so much, and congratulations on receiving your master's yesterday.
Thank you.
We look forward to all the great things you're gonna do in the future. And to our audience, thank you for joining us today. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't have a topic yet. I don't think you have either.
We'll figure it out. But I just want to say, just so we have Gay Lisa here, anyone who has something they want to talk about, if you're making sense, we'll work with you. We want to spotlight young people or just our people. We want to spotlight our people. Put people out there. People come to me all the time, Gibby the Farm. I'm much more humble than I come off as. I don't like to be bigged up, believe it or not. But I want to big you up. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, let's promote it. Especially, and I'm gonna be real, especially young black people. In these times we live in, we want to promote our own, and I think that that's where we go wrong as a people. We got to promote our own, support our own. I had on a hat earlier from one of my friends' clothing line. Make sure I wear it next time. I actually have some sweatpants on from them, so we could be promoting you. We promoting everyone. And hey, we'll be taking sponsorship, so send me one free. Kyle, send some Total shirts, man. Some Craven shirts. Me and Daniel will spot them while we on. We can't eat from Total while we on the show because we not there, But so we showed everybody out, and thank you all. Like Daniel said, much love for the week ahead, next 2 weeks, and stay focused and keep working. My motto for life these days, Daniel, if we ain't growing together, we joking. So let's go and build up each other.